This popular pistol is definitely not worth buying. That's what we're going to talk about today as I give you my straight up opinion on a $1,200 pistol that I would say you should absolutely stay away from. Now again, this is going to be a lot of opinion, but there's also going to be some backstory about this gun too that I find very interesting and I want to share with you today. Some of the issues that I've had with this gun as well, and just my overall experience. I want to give you all of that information. So that way you can make an informed decision as to whether this would be a good option for you. Now, of course, this is my opinion, but I want to hear yours as well. Whether you agree or disagree, make sure you let me know down below after the video what your thoughts are on this pistol. If you own one, let me know how it's doing for you. Of course, if you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. Now, of course, the pistol I'm talking about here is the Daniel Defense H9. It is their first ever pistol, right? And so they're known for making high-end ARs, and that's what they've done for a long time. But it didn't start out as a Daniel Defense H9. It started out as the Hudson. Now, back in 2017, the Hudson H9 was like the biggest thing at the 2017 SHOT Show. This thing really took the shooting world by storm, and one of the biggest reasons is you can tell in the way that it looks, right? It's a little bit different, a little bit goofy compared to some of the other guns, but it draws attention. And the intended design is probably better on paper than what it actually is in real life. So what they have is a insert in the bottom of the frame, and the recoil spring actually has like this little metal tab on it, right? And that allows it to hang down much lower in the gun than what you'll find on other pistols. If we just use this P320 X5 Legion here, you can see how much higher this area of the gun is than what you'll find on the H9, and that translates to the trigger guard real estate area there too, where the trigger guard, you can see the full thing on the P320. About half of it is covered up with the Daniel Defense. So what it's designed to do is keep the recoil more in line with the shooter's hand, lower bore axis on the gun, and hence it should be a little bit less recoil. Now, I don't put so much stock into this. I've shot plenty of Walthers, HKs, even SIGs, a little bit higher bore axis. Yes, they may have a little bit more muzzle rise, but these guns shoot freaking fantastic with proper technique and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not something I'm like, oh my God, I have to have the lowest bore axis ever. Because while I do understand the benefits of it, it's still not a make or break thing for me, right? But it's a unique design. So I do like that though. I tried something different. Now, Hudson ran into an issue. They started making the aluminum frame, right? And there was a lot of buzz about that because their pistol originally came in at like 34 ounces, right? That's pretty hefty, right? So they were able to get that weight down, but then customers started having issues with their guns and sending them back and noticing that they were never getting the guns back. And eventually they just never got even responses from the company. Well, apparently when Hudson filed for bankruptcy, they had owed a bunch of money to a parts distributor. That parts distributor said, we're not sending you anymore. You got a $400,000 balance. We have $186,000 worth of parts here that we've already made, but we're not sending out until you pay down this balance. Now, from what I know, Hudson is a new manufacturer. They're a new company for sure. And so even to have a $400,000 balance with a company like that, I just ain't doing it, you know, if I'm that parts distributor. But let's be honest, it was on Hudson. Now, if I have a balance like that with Smith & Wesson or SIG or, you know, okay, you know, they're going to pay it. New one, new manufacturer, nah, that ain't happening. But that's where it ended, right? And even in the lawsuit, they had mentioned something about 86 customer pistols. These are pistols that were paid for. People spent $1,150 on the original Hudson H9, and this gets me fired up, dude. $1,100. Do you understand that that's a full week's pay for a lot of people? Maybe even 2 weeks' pay for a lot of people after taxes. So you're talking about a lot of hard work and a lot of money that is sitting in pieces. They broke them down to the smallest pin and just left them there. Now, if you are one of those customers, I would love to know, did you ever get your pistol back? Because I couldn't find any information on whether those customers got refunds. I hope somewhere they were able to at least get their money back and buy something that was worth a damn. But if you were one of those, happen to be, 86 people, please leave us a comment, dude. I would love to hear actually how that panned out for you, or hit me up an email. Maybe we can do a video on it. I'm willing to freaking have an interview with you. I don't really care. I'm just really interested to see how all that panned out. So, pretty disgusting part of that entire lawsuit. And, there's always more details that you don't hear, but it just sounded like a really scummy situation. So, circling back, early 2024, earlier this year, well, depending on when you're watching this, could be in the future, but early 2024, Daniel Defense, there was rumors that they were going to look at this design and see if it was something they were going to come out with. Well, they eventually did. And so I bought one of these fairly early because I was like, Daniel Defense first gun, it's based around the H9. I think this might be a really cool opportunity. And it looks like the cloud is gone, let's just say. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the details of the gun here, right? We have a front fiber optic sight. We have a U-notch in the rear, blacked out, serrated on the top there to help with glare. It is optics ready. We have somewhat of a 1911 style grip here. So these panels are interchangeable like a 1911. And it points similar to a 1911 or an M&P or something like that, right? And even when you look at the profile of the guns, it has somewhat of a 1911 type of appearance to it. A little bit of an extended beaver tail there. Nothing, crazy like a lot of your 1911s today. They're extended, they're upswept and all that, but it's enough to keep that that slide off you so you don't have to worry about slide bite. You have two release tabs here in the front of the trigger guard, so think about a Glock except you got a little bit more surface area. They're just tucked further into the frame, so a little bit harder to get. Not that big of a deal. Magazine release comes with three 15-round magazines. Also has a little bit of serration, cross serrations there in the front of the grip, and a little bit of relief cut there, so you can definitely get your hand high and tight on this gun. Slide stop, boom, right there. Picatinny rail, full-size dust cover. We already talked about that part of the pistol, and the slide stop is fully ambidextrous. Of course, you can reverse your magazine release. External extractor, looks like they have a little bit of a beveling down, right, and a little relief cut there to help in extraction and ejection. So overall, it definitely has a different, unique, and kind of a really good look to it. That trigger, though, is something else entirely. So it has kind of this top hinge piece right here. So it's almost like a reverse of what you would expect, right? Typically, your hinged or your trigger safety actually, will be towards the bottom. You pull it, and then that's gonna, well, this one's at the top, and whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? You pull the trigger on the gun, and there it breaks. Whew! Reset. Pretty good. And then that freaking trigger pull once again. It is heavy, and it just stacks for days. It's pretty awful, actually. So I take it to the range the first time, and I feel like the accuracy was okay. It wasn't anything exceptional. It wasn't anything great. It was just okay. But I didn't have any issues with it. And then I took it out to the range the second time, and I felt like the accuracy was just awful. Like really, really bad. And so I'm like, okay, maybe it's me, because, typically want to look at yourself first. Is there anything that I could be doing better? Well, I was shooting a couple of different guns that day. One was the frickin' staccato, so that kind of makes everything look bad in reality when you're on the range. P365 fuse, a variety of 1911s, including the one you just saw, the Smith & Wesson 1911. Didn't have any problems. I didn't hit every single shot. I think I had a 5-inch plate at 10 yards, 12 yards, something like that. And my first few shots were okay. They seemed fairly consistent, but then it just got more inconsistent as more time went along. So I get home and I do some research, and I realize that they've actually done a free recall on the barrels. Now they're saying this is affecting something like 2% of pistols, or at least they did at that time, and that, you know, they would do a you know, warranty, shipping, everything would be on them, and they would do the upgrade for you. Sure enough, I checked my serial number and it falls within that range of guns that needs to be sent back to Daniel Defense, and they redesigned the barrel and that recoil spring. They'll replace all that free of charge, which is great. That's what they should do. You know, it just makes me question, you know, first of all, it's a $1,300 MSRP on the gun, right? It's expensive. I'm just not impressed with this gun. I think it's a combo of the price, how it shoots, the issues now that I've had with it. I'm just personally, when I think about this gun, I'm like, dude, I cannot wait to put this thing on consignment. Shooting a gun once and having a great experience, I've done that before, right? And then I learned, you know, the second or the third time, crap, that thing is not working well. So I don't ever like to put my name on something that is not going to perform well. And that's why I've had this gun for going on 6 months now. I wanted to take it out a number of times and see how it did. And this past time showed me pretty much everything I need to know about it. As of right now, this is not a gun I would recommend at all. My opinion, I don't know this is fact, but my opinion is that Daniel Defense wanted to get into the pistol market. They saw this as a gun that probably, I would imagine, would have been financially beneficial to them because they had filed for bankruptcy. A gun that had a bunch of clout. So they were, I would assume they were able to get a good price. Maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but that's just an assumption. And they wanted to get into a gun that had some clout. People were excited about it. They had some issues. Rebrand it. And, you know, and that's kind of what they did. There's not very many changes from the Hudson H9 to the Daniel H9, including, you know, even the name. So they wanted to still hold on to that H9 for a reason. You know, if they wanted to completely separate themselves from everything Hudson had done, they would have called it something completely different. That's my guess, right? And I'm not impressed at all with this pistol. Actually, if you want my opinion, if you're going to spend that kind of money, go with a CZ. Go with a SIG. Go with a Smith & Wesson. You know, I mean, you can find a lot better options in that price range, sometimes even a little bit cheaper compared to something like this. So there you go, man. I'm not impressed, but I will be sending them back, and maybe I have a completely different opinion afterwards. But, you know, it's again, it's not just the issues. I don't like this gun. There's nothing about this that stands out to me as like, wow. We did that Grand Power Q1 MK23. That was a cool gun, right? It had an exciting new feature. This one, its claim to fame really is how low the recoil spring, and I don't find that it's that much less recoil than some of the other striker fire guns out there that actually come in a little bit lighter too. So sometimes it just works out like that, man, where I get a gun and I'm not impressed, maybe having issues, and this one kind of falls into all of that. So there you go, man. If you have a difference of opinion or you agree, whatever, leave your opinion down below in the comments section below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one, and as always, hold 'em down.